Here today at the Monterey Historic Races, I'd like to present the SR-200, the only one known in the world. Of the Sorrells, presently, there are about 7 that are known. This car has given me a lot of pleasure, shared it with a lot of children, kids, grown-ups too. We're all still kids, aren't we? It presently has a 327 cubic inch engine, normal 4-speed. We're here at the track, so we get to enjoy a lot of that. I can only tell you that the car is unique. It's the one of, the only one known, and has never done anything with it, and it needed a significant amount of attention in places that represent the way they used to build cars back then without the technology we've known to develop, allowing them to handle a little better and be a little bit more reliable, should we say, predictable in a turn. The body's been off 5 times now to build the engine and transmission to address some of the structural stresses that are better now than they were. 11 years and had a number of races with it that have given me great fun with others.
Now, where did you find it?
My friend bought it in Pomona Swap Meet, I do believe.
Oh, okay.
The original builders put this car together following the burn of the first car and subsequent cars that were built. The shop guys had the molds and access to them and began to reproduce this car, and in their later years never finished it, and therefore it needed a little bit more modern attention.
Okay.
So, actual roll bar that will keep me alive if I make a mistake. To that, I would just say we have a well-sorted, enjoyable car that's reliable year after year.
Now, how many times have you taken it out racing yourself since you've gotten it sorted?
Maybe 30 times.
Wow.
Quite a few.
That's great.
It's been driven on the street a number of times. It's actually street legal, but you end up having to talk to a police officer just about every darn time. They've always been pleasant. I've never been counseled for mischief, because I try not to do that.
Yeah, smart.
But allow a policeman to see this drive by him, they're not going to let you go without a conversation.
Makes sense. So what do we have for power plant, transmission, rear end? Let's go through some of the technical specs if we could.
Well, the car that I presently am standing behind is a legal car from the standpoint that it is a legitimate standard bore 327 Chevrolet Corvette engine and a 4-speed that would have come from it. The rear end is a straight axle with a 355 gear ratio, and it's capable, comfortable of about 140 miles an hour. And although I don't feel quite comfortable at 140s.
How much horsepower is your setup making, you think?
I can't really say what the horsepower is, but it would be safe to say around 370 horse.
Pretty good.
Everyone likes to think it's more than it really is. I wish it was more than it was, but I like to be a legal person in the racing industry.
So are these period Halibrands or are these replicas?
Oh, they're aftermarket lookalikes. They're kidney beans.
Okay. Oh, they're the rocket wheels. I see that now.
Let me get my shadow out of it. And I love the fact that my voice keeps popping because I'm yelling.
Second puberty.
Now that's
just because you're so excited, you know?
That's
it's hard not to be excited.
That doesn't seem quite right in a lot of ways. I swear to God. You know.
Can we lift the hood up and take a look at what's going on under here?
Would you care for me to hold it or put a stick in?
Why don't we put the stick in and make it easier for you? Now, when you got it, did it have the motor in it, or is this something you built for it?
It had an engine in it, but wasn't capable of racing with respect to other people, possibly blowing the engine up. therefore wrecking somebody. But I would like to draw your attention to the fact that it has Corvette standard exhaust manifolds rather than headers.
You were talking about your breather setup here. What do you got going on with that?
Well, the breather setup, often you find a front and rear breather for a 327. So I chose to take them off the top of the valve covers, and 2 breather catch cans, although none of them have ever had oil in them hardly. Both have the one lower and one above.
That's pretty smart. Is it a custom chassis?
Oh, Lord, yes.
Yeah.
I believe this chassis represents the exercise of, here, hold my whiskey while I build something. The welds are what you might expect. It transitions from square tube to round tube to rectangular tube.
It's kind of whatever they had lying around.
I'd hate to put that on them, but I don't know that they went out and bought what they really should have had.
Sure.
But to that, I have to say I give them credit for a couple of kids.
Yeah, I mean, it works. It's held up, so it's a testament to it in some ways.
So far, I've not found any cracks, and I've been pretty diligent about it. As I said earlier, I've had the body off a total of 5 times to look at things and to just make sure I'm not going to be a hazard to somebody else.
Sure.
But as an aircraft mechanic, I'm pretty picky. I like things to be sentiment where they are. You'll notice a lot of things are safety wired, as well as torque marks on just about every bolt I can find.
That's smart. And so what kind of condition was it in when you got it? I mean,
The body was roughly what we have, but the chassis was something to experience. And with that, it's a joy to work on things that you like. So I really haven't had a labor that I would not want to do again if I had a chance.
But
great. It's nice to bring a car to the track, worry about just putting air in it and gas. So far, I've had 11 years of reliable use and fun out of it.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That's pretty good.
So did you have to redo the bodywork and repaint it, or were you lucky enough that it actually was in this
There's
level of
been
condition?
there's been some paint work, but not body work. The fact that I've been lucky enough to race for 24 years and never have a wreck. I've driven off the track, which I refer to as running out of talent. You know?
That's a nice way of putting it.
Well, I think it's a humble way of saying, oh, damn it. Darn.
I should know this. Are these vents on the side? Are those from a different car, or are those Sorrell?
They were what they had. If you would look at the old pictures that I've collected.
Yeah. Yeah, so those were in there. That's great. Caught fire once? Is that what I'm seeing over there? Was on fire once, or was that a different one?
That's part of the mystique of the car I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Was the car was touted to still be buried at turn 1 in Riverside as it burned. The magnesium wheels caught on fire, which is difficult to put out without smothering it. So they brought a skip loader and buried the car.
Wow.
Now, the LA Times took a picture of Roger Ward, as I understand it, running from the fire, which give him credit for getting the hell out of there. And a cross was put as humor on top of the pile that they believed to be still under that. And for the number of years that the car was supposedly still buried there, why would you go back for a burnt car? The tow truck driver in later years found this car here at the race and said, by gosh, I'm the guy that dug this up, and I took pictures. So we now have pictures of the car with Bob Sorrell standing behind the pile of burnt body and a picture of the chassis on a trailer as it left the racetrack at Riverside about a week later.
So how long had it been buried?
I'm sorry?
How long was it buried for?
About a week.
Okay.
So they had to wait for people to kind of dissipate, and then they snuck in, snuck out.
Smart.
And for years, they maintained that the car was still buried there, and that gave us another alley to go down.
That's awesome. What a story.
I would say I was blessed in later years to have a track photographer provide pictures of Bob Sorrell at his house, building Bonneville cars in front of the house. The particular picture that I was given shows a twin engine forward and aft, Bonneville car with 2 gas tanks that happen to resemble absolutely the old jerry cans that we used in World War II. I'm not saying they were, but it makes sense. You can see the U.S. on the side of it. I don't think it's us and them, it's just us, you know.
That's funny. Well, you certainly have been a good steward for it. That's great. It's found a great owner here, and it's always nice to have guys that are passionate about the history and going out and getting something that's different. You know, I mean, obviously this has some really great storied history, so that doesn't actually hurt for kind of.
I think I've been provided with another blessing. A couple of years ago, a son brought his father with him who used to race in the 70s with the Mustangs and Corvettes, and he was blind at this time in life. And after presenting him a car, I asked his son if it'd be all right if I threw some gas in this and took him for a ride. I didn't realize at the time we'd been gone almost 40 minutes.
Wow.
They thought we'd wrecked out. But we took him all the way out to Highway 218 toward Monterey and come back. And at the turnaround, I asked if you want to drive back. And he said, well, I think it would be a bad idea. But I shared with him the opportunity to shift gears. Because can you shift left-handed? And had a chance to put him in the wind at about 100 miles an hour on South Perimeter Road. If I'm asked about it, I never did it.
No, never met the guy.
No, know the guy that did that.
Well, that was so kind of you. I'm sure.
Well, it made my day.
Something he would have never forgot.
Well, I've been blessed to share the car with so many kids at Monterey at the kickoff, letting kids just jump in the car. We don't worry about the paint or the this or the that. If we have to, we'll put a little on it later.
That's a great attitude to have. I mean, some guys, they'll bark at you if you get within 5 feet of their car, but that's not really in the spirit. And you know, you want other people to partake in the history of these because
the thought of it.
Yeah.
You know, our children are left behind with the drag you along, and they're not included. They're not allowed to touch. Imagination and adventure are not what we had as kids. Our parents told us to go outside, and I don't want to see you until the sun's down.
What a great piece of history you have here. Thanks so much for preserving it and taking some time to talk to us about it. That sure sounds great.